great day. Now, we're going to talk to Miss Latrice here in a minute because, you know, ladies, it's going to be a great day. And let me introduce to you my guest that is going to let us understand how we can make it a great day as women. First of all, I want to introduce a lovely friend of mine. And if you are of a certain age, then you know her as the queen of beach music, which I love whenever she's in the house, Miss Janice Barnett. Thank you so much for coming. And next to her, another girlfriend that I am so glad that God brought to my life, and she is Miss Lori Harrison. Now, I want you to know that these are women of business as well, because Miss Lori here, she is the director for Mary Kay Cosmetics, but she also has something else that she's got going on that's a little bit more important from her heart, as we were discussing earlier. And also, Miss Janice, not even though she may be the queen of beach, she has also a ministry.
Amen.
Janice Barnett Ministries. And also, we're going to get to the root of things today because we have a special guest here, and it is Miss Jonette Brooks. And her business, CEO, Holla at Your Ancestors. And we're going to find out a little bit more about that in a minute here. Now, we're going to get Miss Latrice Bush over here. We only let her take a quick break because the girl is very talented. And she's going to come back at the end of the show, so don't go anywhere. Because we need her to give us some opening here, Miss Latrice Bush. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come in this morning.
Certainly.
Tell us, first of all, before we get started, when women need to know what you just sang about, having a great day, what made you come up with that song? It's so awesome.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I think for me, the song is like affirmations. You know, when you're going down, every day is not going to be great. Every day isn't great, but if you affirm it so, it could be so. The Bible tells you that. You know, you speak things as though they were, even though they're not. And so, if it's, you know, thank God for a beautiful day. I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to fight. Today is going to be better than yesterday. I'm going to release all the drama from the day before, and I'm going to move forward positively into this day. It's you have to talk yourself out of some things to make it through, and that's what the song is for me.
Right, because now with you being an artist and as a woman, the purpose of songs like that, is that a ministry for you?
Oh yeah, you know, it really is. I'm a Christian woman. I happen to sing all types of music, gospel being one of them, jazz and R&B, and for me, I have to sing songs that I can live by. I have to sing songs that really will not break me into jail, hell, basically. And so, you know, so I want to keep. I just want to keep it real. You know, I want to encourage folks. And so, for women, we go through so much. We have so many things against us, especially as African American women. There is so many strikes against us, and sometimes we're not the nicest to each other. We really aren't. And so if I can do my part and just tell them how I get through a day and how life doesn't bring me down, you stay positive, you surround yourself with positive people, you surround yourself with positive music, you can actually make it. You can be positive. You know, we have enough going around in the world than to have thoughts bring us down, to be captive to our thoughts. And that's what most people are, captive to their thoughts. If you keep your thoughts clean and positive, you can make it.
Right, absolutely. I like that. And then I love that song about getting up, putting your lipstick on and doing.
Get your lip gloss and move on. Get your girlfriend.
Got your lip gloss, you're ready to go.
And ready to go. Yeah. It's, you know, just the simplest things can change a day. Little lip gloss can change your look.
Look out now, you're talking to Miss Mary Kay.
That's right.
Hey,
That's right. But it can make all the difference. All the
that's
difference.
what you do, isn't it, Laura, as far as
And that's what I want to share is that I love how God works everything out, how he put the four of us here today and just preordained what we were going to speak about today to share and pour into other women's lives, people in general, into their lives about making a difference. Yeah. I'm so proud to be associated with a company like Mary Kay that's celebrating our 50th anniversary this year of enriching women's lives. And we know that we use the lip gloss or the lipstick as a vehicle to affect positive change in the lives of others. Yes. It is absolutely amazing. One of my passions in my business, my Mary Kay business, is actually a ministry for me. It's a way for me to have that one-on-one time to connect with other women and find out what their needs are and how I can help them. A personal passion that I've worked on for a number of years is domestic violence and human trafficking, and Mary Kay as a corporation stands behind that. And so I want to share some information today about what the company's doing in regards to that. It's absolutely amazing. So many people are not even aware of human trafficking, or those that are aware of it, it's frightening. And they want to bury their head in the sand instead of thinking, I want more information, what can I do? And so I want to share some things today that make it really easy for everyone on every level to get involved in that. Atlanta, the Atlanta area, is number 4 in the nation for human trafficking.
That's right.
Yes, the Atlanta area.
right.
And it's specifically a little bit north of Atlanta, in Gwinnett County. Yes, and 1 in 4 young women will be a victim of sexual abuse in their life. 1 in 4. Yes, and
Wow,
by the
and that's
time,
serious.
yeah, it is very serious. 90% of young girls that run away may end up being sold into prostitution or human trafficking. Within 72 hours of your teenage daughter coming up missing, she's already in human trafficking. She's shipped across the country.
That's right.
And so one of the organizations here locally, Wellsprings, that we do quite a bit of work with, I wanted to share some information with them as them being a resource to help young girls ages 12 to 17 and women, help transition them back into mainstream society through residential therapy.
Well, talking about transitions and that sort of thing, Jeanette, with Holler at Your Ancestors, now when we look at these kinds of problems, first of all, tell us, how did you get started with Holler at Your Ancestors?
Well, actually, it was planning a family reunion back in 1996. And we actually had 2, the oral history goes, family oral history was 2 brothers married 2 sisters. And I decided to try to find out if that in fact was true. And it turns out that it was an aunt and a niece that married 2 brothers. And so the legacy began. We found pictures and we began creating calendars and all types of quilts and different sorts of things that assist us in maintaining our history, archiving our history, and moving it forward. I actually have an aunt that has over 10,000 pictures, literally. There are about 17 different storage units of information that she has. And she painstakingly wrote every single note of where they went and what they did. So she left a lot of breadcrumbs, and then we have a legacy of 22 family members that I've identified that have a master's degree or higher, and we've been honored by the state and a highway named after us. So my goal is to get everyone to understand how much this builds your family esteem, self-esteem. You find out everybody has the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it all needs to be told. It just needs to be told in a graceful way. We've talked about the shoulders that we stand on. We now need to build some physical tributes that we can take our grandchildren to, and they can take their grandchildren to.
Right.
To
now,
show that
we're going to take a break because this is very important today, and being Mother's Day month, we want to really look at legacies. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, get your pen and paper because you want to take notes and find out where the greatness in you came from. We'll be right back.
Express yourself. Express yourself.
We're back. Now, we have another guest that graced us with her presence today, and we're going to hear a little bit about from her in a minute, and that is Ms. Sheila Coleman, and she's the CEO of the Vine Realty Group. And listen, we have professional ladies here today, and these are women that are making a difference. Now, before the break, Jeanette, you were talking about ancestors and us knowing our roots and where we came from, because in the middle of the break, we were talking about meeting people. Now, what were you saying there, Janice, about
I had
a good reason that we need to know this?
Because they could be your brothers and sisters. They could be your cousins, and you go on with them and don't know it. Or just basically because when you're starting to do business with people, sometimes you don't realize they're your family. They're, like she said, it's so important to tell everything. Like the scenario I gave you about a cousin that I met. At least he said it was my cousin. And he was showing me around all of Atlanta and getting ready to come and work with our ministry and knew quite a bit about the stock markets. And so you got to be sure who you're talking to. And he said, well, my grandfather built this. And I said, wait a minute. I just let him talk. He drove me around looking for. He said, "This is our house, and this was our church, and this was this." And I said, "Can you?" Because I was by myself. I said, "I never been." I said, "Can you take me home? I got something I really need to do." I'm thinking I need to.
I found myself being one of the first entrepreneur women in my generation, but the strongness I found that to come from generational. You know, they may not have been entrepreneurs, however, they were strong women, and I found that to be a part of who I am. You know, as you start a business, it's not as easy as it looks, but the strength came from my family, the women in my family. I have very strong women in my family, and I found that to be part of my generation and part of my strength to move forward. So it may not have been the entrepreneur piece, but it was definitely the strength from the women from my family.
Well, actually, and when you look at it, you have to be strong to basically do most anything.
Right.
You know
Yes,
what I'm
you do.
saying?
Yes.
It's the strength. So when we talk about with the human trafficking and that sort of thing, the self-esteem level of women can be to the point where they will accept the compliment or the appearing caring of a man just because they're not strong.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Do you find that as far as what you learn when it comes to human trafficking and the self-esteem, not only is it of youth, right?
Well, human trafficking is a somewhat separate issue from domestic violence. They're related, but in human trafficking, you have a situation where young girls and young women are just snatched out of their everyday life and sold into prostitution. And then you have domestic violence. And I have found in my dealings with domestic violence and survivors of domestic violence that it's a lot tougher place to be than most people realize. 86% of the women that lose their life in a situation of domestic violence, it happens once they make that decision to leave their abuser. So that is a very, very critical time frame for them. And you have to imagine having someone that is supposed to love you and care for you, threatening you and the lives of your children, and just pouring that negativity into you to where you are filled with fear. And we know fear is not from God, but that's the life that they live in every day. And that's become their life. And they're afraid that if I try to leave him, because he's already said, I'll kill you, I'll take the children, I'll kill the children. I mean, last year in October, my women's group, as co-chair of domestic violence with the Liberal Women's Club, we hosted a candlelight vigil for all of the women in the area that had lost their lives in the state of Georgia. All of the people. And it's so heartbreaking when you have 2 or 3 people with the same last name and you know it's a mom and her children.
Wow.
And so that's what happens quite often. But I love that we're tying this all together with our legacy and generational, because I think sometimes in our culture that the old way of thinking was that, oh, well, he cares about you. If he didn't care about you, he wouldn't do that. That's utter nonsense, ladies, and we know that today, that is not a sign of love at all, and to run as fast as you can away from that. I grew up in a home where domestic violence took place, and my mother and all of my siblings, we were a victim of that. And I made my mother is a very, very strong woman, very strong, and I know that I got my strength, my integrity, my compassion for people from my mother. And she owned her own business. Her parents owned their own businesses way back then, which is really something to be said for people of color. But seeing her go through that and seeing what she was able to rise above and still do and not lose herself in that process taught me and gave me an awesome example of, I made the decision as a young girl, seeing my family being treated that way at 10 years old and growing up in that, I'm never going to live in a situation like that. Because we were talking about before this show started, sometimes that is a cycle. Just like your family can be predisposed to some sort of chemical abuse or alcohol abuse, that's a cycle also when children grow up in a situation like that. And so that's why it's so important to know what has gone on in your family and who is in your family.
But also, I'd like to add when he gets to that point, because in our ministry, of course, being inducted in Hall of Fame as Queen of Beach Music, I'm inclined to help people in the arts, to help kids in the arts. I love children. That's my passion. So I'm always working with the youth. But I find in working with the youth that even though they have aspirations to be and to sing, and we teach them the positiveness of speaking positive, because the Bible does say you'll have what you say. And we have to teach these kids that when they get out and they start to become rebellious, listening to the rappers and listen to the influence that upon their lives, that, and you know what they're looking for is family. So a lot of the kids we deal with are in the gangs. They've gotten involved in gangs in school, and this is their way of having someone that loves them.
A sense of belonging.
Trust me, they think these people love them. They come down and they're just like a pimp. They start to wound them and swoon them and romance them and give them money and clothes and since I got your back, and before you know it, now all of the animosity that they feel toward their family, they found someone they'll kill for, meaning you, just to be in that game to prove their loyalty. What I find when I start dealing with them in the arts is that you got to go all the way back to the nucleus of what really happened. What's missing in that family? Ancestral.
Absolutely.
Is the mother missing? Is the father missing? So did the uncle rape them? You gotta develop a relationship to where you can talk to them. So that's where we start with, not just we become loving to them. No condemnation, no judgment, privacy. You're never going to hear it repeated. Not we're going to go back and you can leave it here.
Sure.
You can leave it here. And one of the things we found, and that's why I had to get into creating affordable homes. The bank donates homes to our ministry. I started a nonprofit because I realized I was going to have to involve a community to help. I couldn't do this by myself. Once again, it takes a village to raise a child, going back to your ancestral. And I said, Lord, what do I do? How do I start? I mean, there's not enough money in the world to help every child. But each one teach one in your community. If you can get people to stop working against each other, stop being jealous. As the kids say, you're a hater. You know, you're a hater. You don't want to see me make it. If you want to do houses and you're in this and you're doing that and I'm helping children and you're doing, why can't I come in my britches with your pretty dress on and your knowledge and your flair? And you come in with your work clothes on and you come with the television. Why can't we come together and listen to her sing about positiveness?
I love it.
And put it all together. And it doesn't matter who wins, Jesus wins.
Absolutely.
When we don't get to the place of where God wins,
Absolutely.
to where it's about Him. It's not about us and our names and what we do. It's about these kids. These kids are dying and going to hell. And they're killing their mothers and their fathers to get there. So I realized these gangs are not going to let these kids go.
Exactly.
They're not going to go back to school. So we had to get houses. And we had to relocate those kids. And we had to put them in other communities with their families.
Wow.
Get a community to come together, they fix that house up and recognize that we're not going to make any money off of this house. This is not
It's
what
not
our
about
purpose
that.
is.
It's not about the
It's
money.
not about the money.
It's about their life.
Yeah, but it's why we're here today. Express Yourself here today is here showcasing women that are making a difference. We'll be right back.
Express yourself. Express yourself.